Hello, everyone. This is Stephen from Âtrium Lab. Welcome to this week's Âtrium X Space. So today we'll be discussing Masumi network. And our guest of the day will be, hey there. And our guest of the day will be NMKR. So Patrick Tobler from NMKR. Of course, we also have Peyton joining us. Always a pleasure. Hey, Peyton. Hey, you have a new image up there. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Great to see you today, Stephen. How's your morning been so far, your afternoon?
Yeah, it's going well, Preparing for this space, trying to figure out what Masumi does, but we have Patrick here already as well, so I hope he'll be able to explain us today. Hey, Patrick, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing very well. How are you?
Hey, doing well.
Good to see you, Patrick. You know, the way that we normally do these spaces is we start off with a little bit of news as people are joining in. We usually do like 10 to 20 minutes of news in the beginning, and then we can learn more about Masumi. I've been excited to learn more about it. It's been too long since we've caught up. How have things been going in general, Patrick? Pretty well?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. Both on the business side, also the private side. I'm in Japan right now. I'm here for 2 months and just staying here, chilling, working from here. I've been having a lot of fun. And yeah, excited for the space. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome, man. I'm really happy to hear that. You know, I moved away to a place where everyone speaks a different language. It's, you know, pretty different from where I grew up, and it's been really good for me. And I imagine you're having a similar experience there. So to get on to some news, I do have some alpha for everybody today. It's kind of interesting alpha. It's something I wasn't expecting today, but I was watching Crypto Crow. He had a live stream going. There's actually a big summit going on right now in Washington D.C. And a lot of the crypto founders are either calling in or they're actually in there on the ground. And it's not your normal Bitcoin conference where it's like a bunch of guys running crypto companies there. There are congressmen there, there are senators there, and one thing that was really interesting. I was doing some work while I was listening in, so I don't have, the best summary for everyone. But Charles Hoskinson just moderated a panel with Donald Trump Jr. and then the other founders of, World Liberty Finance. And, to be honest with you guys, like I've been, kind of a little bit worried about Cardano being left out of the U.S. government's plans with cryptocurrency. I was worried that Solana would be chosen, or layer twos that kind of don't hold up a lot of the crypto ethics that we came to Cardano for in the first place. So little things like this, little nods to us not being left behind, and towards this race towards innovation was really exciting to me. So they talked about their new stable coin. World Liberty Finance, they've gotten a bunch of Bitcoin, they've bought a bunch of Ethereum. I think they have some Solana too, but they've never bought in Cardano. So with Donald Trump Jr., running that, I was like, that's a little worrisome in a way. And Charles was on stage with them today, moderating the panel. He essentially mentioned that they met, when there was a big hurricane that came through the United States, and it knocked out power and caused a lot of flooding in North Carolina. And Charles Hoskinson and some of the guys from the World Mobile team, they went there to try to help people, because people didn't have access to food or power. And because Charles had his Black Hawk, they went out there to try to help some people, and they ran into Donald Trump Jr. And that's kind of where that relationship formed, because they were also out there helping each other, so that was kind of interesting to see that prior relationship there. And then directly after that panel, the chief legal officer of IOG was actually on stage with a senator and a congressman, right? So, it's a interesting time for our industry. It's also an interesting time for America, and it's exciting to me to see Cardano really not being left out. I think that it's taken a different direction, than a lot of the space and Bitcoin and Ethereum. And, I hope to see, it continue to go forward and us not be kind of limited, from, regulation and government agencies. So I was happy to see it. But yeah, that's my big alpha that wasn't on our sheet today. So interesting times.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. I'm going to catch up on that talk later today. It was an hour ago or so, I think. So yeah, will be interesting to hear. Everyone here, make sure you tweet out the space as well, so we get a good crowd in here for Patrick. And what else happened this week? So Iagon launched their delegation for their storage nodes. So the available storage capacity on Iagon has skyrocketed. I think it's almost doubled, I think, if not more. So interesting to see a lot of demand in Iagon, and they seem to be doing well. I think I still need to set up my node, but yeah, I still need to beef up my internet subscription, I think, to meet the minimum requirements for upload. But yeah, I'll look into it. Maybe make my own storage node as well. See how that works. Did you look into Iagon nodes before, Peyton?
A part of me have always wanted to run one. I kind of got started in this space being a node operator, so I've wanted to run one, but it's just too busy with Âtrium, to be honest, to start running a bunch of nodes everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Every little thing takes a little bit of time away. So there's also the Intersect committee elections are open now. So anyone that wants to apply for a position in one of the committees can also apply now. Applications are open until April 4th, I believe. And then after that, we can get voting on who will represent us as a community in the different Intersect committees. So yeah, everyone that feels like they can do a good job in those committees, there's still time to apply for one of the committees now through the Intersect website. So it's another interesting thing going on.
I saw that Tim Harrison actually applied to be on the marketing committee yesterday, which I was really excited to see that. And yeah, make sure you guys go apply. If you've been in Cardano for a while, you think you have some good input in with your real world experience or some of the experience you've had in this space, go in there, apply. We want to see the best people, be elected in those seats. So if you have the time for it, make sure you guys get in there and apply. And as Stephen was saying, make sure you leave a little comment by clicking that blue button in the bottom right-hand corner. Push the space out a little further. And if you could, invite Patrick and I to be a co-host. I think that usually gives us a little boost.
Yeah, I've been looking at the Intersect committees as well. Actually, I would love to be more involved in Intersect, by the way, but it's just a very time-consuming thing. So I think a lot of the builders are kind of shying away from it. So I don't know. That's at least my kind of thing. I would love to be there, but I don't really want to commit to applying because I know, okay, if I do it, I'm gonna have less time for Masumi and for NMKR. So yeah, I hope that many other great candidates will apply because it's very important, especially the steering committee, I think.
Yeah, that's the downside. All of the good, well, not all of the good people, but a lot of the good people in Cardano are busy with their own stuff, as you mentioned, you as well, Peyton. So yeah, it's a bit of a duality, choosing between participating in governance and running your business or your project on Cardano. It's always a split that you need to take care of. So what else did we have? There was some talk about a real estate startup called House. that is looking into migrating from Ethereum to Cardano, which is always nice to see. So I'm curious what they're building. I'm going to try to get them on one of our next spaces to introduce themselves to the community, see what they're building, and give an opportunity to the community to ask questions as well. So to be determined. I'm not sure if they'll be open to it, but I'll try to get them on and see what their project is all about. Have you heard anything about that, Patrick? I saw some talk about from Cash, from Anvil, and from CF as well that are involved. So yeah, it's always good to see.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard anything about that, and I think it's really cool that that the CF basically was in contact and connected them to Cash and a few others in the space. I feel like that's one of those things that's happening a lot behind the scenes, which wasn't happening in the early days of the Cardano Foundation, but now it's happening more and more, where they just get a lot of inbound leads, and they kind of know, okay, which project works well with which other potential partner, and they just connect builders. And one of the things was always people were complaining that the CF is connecting too much with NMKR and sending everything our way, and that was certainly true for a while. But now, for example, it's a very good sign that I haven't even heard about House, and that instead Cash basically got the lead. So I think the CF is, doing a good job just reconnecting people and making sure that I don't know, no company that actually wants to join Cardano actually gets left behind. That everyone, finds a good partner in the space.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to co-hosts, I think we need the gold checkmark back, Peyton, for having some co-hosts, because
They put it behind a paywall?
Yeah, I think so. I also tried it last week, and co-hosts are being difficult at the moment. So yeah, we need that gold checkmark back.
Have to open up the
And
ADA wallet.
Yeah. They're a bit slow on the side from X, trying to get things like that sorted, but yeah, we'll figure it out. Just takes some time for them to get it in order. So one more thing that I had was Lace Wallets will start integrating Bitcoin into its wallet. So there are more and more wallets that are going to support, I guess, in some way natively integrating Bitcoin and Cardano into their wallets. So it's interesting to see. Still will take some time for everything to play out when it comes to the whole Bitcoin conversation and Bitcoin DeFi on Cardano. But yeah, it's always nice to see more and more people getting involved, and also some competition there to win the race, I guess. They also released their roadmap for 2025, Lace, and looks ambitious. So I'm curious to see what they make of it. So let's talk about Masumi. It's interesting, but I read into it a little bit. But yeah, I guess, Patrick, can you give us a high-level overview of what the project aims to do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's that's what I've been doing a lot in the last months, I would say. Yeah, so Masumi is basically an AI agent infrastructure layer, so a payment layer. So what we've discovered is that everyone is going into AI agents right now. Not only in the Web3 world, where we see all those AI agent meme coins and stuff like that, but actually more so in the Web2 world, where all companies right now are realizing, okay, if we build specialized agents, we can solve a lot of the actual business needs that we are currently dealing with, right? Every company in the world is looking into how to replace their workforce with AI agents, basically, or how to enhance at least their workforce. And the really interesting thing that they noticed, or that was in general discovered, is that if you have just one agent, one agent who does a specific task, like you can imagine just ChatGPT, for example, could be an agent, and you give that agent a task, it will not solve it in a very good way, right? So if I don't know, type into ChatGPT, please build me a full website or something like that, it's probably not going to do a very good job. It's going to build a very basic website. But what you can do to make that result a lot better is that you basically split up these tasks into multiple agents. So you build a multi-agent framework and you build a multi-agent workload, a work stream where there's maybe one agent who does the coordination, one agent who does the design, one agent who does the actual coding, another agent who does the code review, right? So you have a lot of different agents and they all have different specialized tasks and they all work together to solve those tasks. And in the end, you will have a really good result. And the whole industry is moving towards that right now. We see really large multi-agent frameworks popping up. Like, for example, Crew AI, I think they already have over 100 million multi-agent crews running live in production at very big companies, at PwC, at Microsoft, at Google, at whatever, right? IBM. So all these multi-agent frameworks are out there. And every company is looking into them. That's like the basis that we go from. Now, if you think about it and you really think about maybe a step ahead, then you come to the conclusion that it's pretty cool to build those multiple agents that work together. But the question is, okay, how do you now build multiple agents that work together, but the agents are not controlled by the same company? So, for example, if I'm Booking.com, how do I now build an agent that can interact with an agent from Lufthansa or from United Airlines or whatever, right? So how do you actually make that communication happening between different companies and different agents from different companies? And then if you think about it, there's another thing, like how do they actually pay each other? So how would the Booking.com agent, for example, pay the Lufthansa agent for booking a flight? And that's really an unsolved kind of problem. And there's a few more things that come into this, like how do we verify that these agents are really from the company that they're saying they're from? How do we verify that they are actually delivering on the output that they're promising? These kinds of things. And for us in the crypto ecosystem, honestly, these are all solved problems, right? We know how to do transactions between entities. We know how to send money from A to B. We know how to send stablecoins from A to B. We know how to verify identity. We have digital identity, decentralized identifiers, and a lot of frameworks for that. And we know how to do it in a decentralized way without having to rely on one platform. So that's kind of where we came from. And then we decided, okay, let's build this platform where we basically bring this blockchain aspect together with this agent aspect, and we just build the financial infrastructure for those agents. And that's really what Masumi is. So Masumi is a protocol that allows agents to pay each other, to find each other, to interact with each other, and so on. And obviously, there's a lot of different layers to that. So we're building a front end, we're building a marketplace where you can actually find those agents, where you can buy those agents, and a few other things. But I think in general, you can boil it down to Masumi is financial infrastructure for AI agents.
Okay, that's really interesting, and I really liked how you kind of started with the Web 2 world to help us paint that picture. What does an MVP look like, for a product like this? Like, how would you even demo this to somebody? Like say it's like a new company or a new prospect. I'm just curious.
Yeah, the MVP is a tricky point because I think there's really two components that you need to be able to even demo it. One of them is the actual protocol, so the actual smart contract. And that is basically live. We've written the smart contract. We're currently in the audit process. We've written a whole Masumi node which you can run to register your agent on Masumi and handle all those transactions, even if you have no idea about how the blockchain works. and then, but the problem is then, of course, okay, we now have a very technical kind of protocol. No one can really interact with it except if they are actual programmers or agent developers. How do normal people now buy those agents and find those agents? And for that, of course, we need to have this marketplace, right? So that's the next step. We are building the marketplace at the moment, which is using the protocol in the background. And then through the marketplace, anyone will be able to just see all the agents and then click on an agent and just buy the agent. So imagine like a Fiverr for agents. And it will also be very, I would say, abstracted away from crypto. So we don't really want to have the Web3 experience. Of course, we want to have it very Web2, very enterprise-ish. So we allow users to just register with the email. We allow them to buy credits with Stripe. And you don't really see the blockchain except if you want to see it. And you will realize that there's some verification logic there if you actually look into like the decision logging and all this kind of stuff. But it's all a little bit hidden away because we want to onboard users and not make it super difficult for them, of course.
So you think it has more of a user focus, B to user instead of B to B?
I mean, it's both. It's in a way, it's a platform for companies that want to release their agents and monetize them and interact with other agents. So they need to, register their agents in the Masumi network. That's definitely more B2B or more B2 developer maybe. But then also, of course, the end product, that's really B2C. Like that's where you would come in and you would say, okay, now I want to hire this agent to do me a competitive analysis, or I want to hire this agent to generate content for my social media strategy or something like that.
Well, the best solutions are always those when you don't know that you're using blockchain in the background. So I like the idea of the minimizing the interaction with the blockchain as much as possible for those companies and users. As long as it works and it works efficiently for them, that's the best way. So can anyone register an AI agent on the Masumi network, or do agents need to be approved by Masumi or someone else, or is there like a vetting process or an approval process for AI agents or quality assurance or something like that?
So anyone can register on Masumi. That's the beauty of decentralization and smart contracts. Anyone can just run the smart contract or in general run a Masumi node. It's all open source. It's all very accessible, and we want people to register as many agents as possible. The centralization point will come in at the front end level. So we are building our marketplace. We call it Sokusumi. So that's the marketplace running on top of Masumi. And that's obviously like hosted in a completely centralized way. And there's like account systems and there's Stripe integrations and that kind of stuff. And we will make sure that this marketplace is extremely curated and we only have high quality agents on there. But also this marketplace is completely open source and anyone could easily fork it and make their own marketplace where they maybe allow for whatever kind of agents, all the agents if they want to. But in the end, I'm hoping that there will be many different implementations of marketplaces and not only ours. And one thing we can talk about maybe the enterprise kind of connection later, but one thing that we also noticed is, I've been talking to a lot of enterprises about this, and also our partner Service Plan, I have been talking to a lot of enterprises about it. And there's different levels to what enterprises actually require in order to be able to interact with something like this, right? So, for example, if you talk to certain large companies, they say, okay, we can only let our employees work with a product like this, like Sokusumi, a marketplace like this, if it's actually self-hosted in their own internal intranet. Right, so they don't even let them register on like sokusumi.com or like some sort of public website. They need to host it themselves in their own internal intranet, and that's a very interesting thing, because that's very, very different, of course, than how most SaaS companies work and crypto works and that kind of stuff. So for that, we basically are saying, okay, in these cases, they could just host their own customized Sukusumi instance, and they can say, okay, I want to fork this marketplace, and I would want to put my own logo on it, maybe. And then in the background, they're still interacting with the Masumi smart contract, but the whole front end is hosted only by them, and the whole user management would be done by them. So the whole thing is basically being designed to be as customizable as possible and to be replicated many times by many different companies.
Okay, very interesting. So I'm curious, where does Cardano come into Masumi? Is Cardano involved in the transactions and the payments, or also the smart contract interactions? How is Cardano plugged into Masumi?
Yeah, so I mean, there's basically 4 different ways that we interact with Cardano. The first way is, okay, how do you actually find the agents? How is it discoverable that you have built an agent, right? So we are using Cardano as a decentralized registry, and we're doing it in a very simple way for people that have been with Cardano, and obviously it makes sense with NMKR. We're simply saying, okay, if you want to register your agent, you have to mint an NFT with your agent's details under a certain policy. So every new agent on Masumi is a new NFT. And it's all being minted via a smart contract, and it's all completely decentralized, and anyone can mint it in there. But that's basically how it works, that you can just register new agents via NFTs and deregister them, of course, as well. Then once you've basically looked into this decentralized registry, and you now say, okay, now I want to interact with a certain agent, and I want to pay this agent, then what you can do is you can basically pay the agent via our smart contract, which is the main Masumi protocol. And it's basically it's a smart contract that handles those payments, but it's not just a transaction from A to B where you just send a payment, but it actually is more like a locked up payment system. So for example, you send the money into the smart contract, and then the agent actually has to do the work and prove that they've done the work by doing another transaction with the result of the agent's work, hashed basically, and putting it into the smart contract as well. And then there will be a timer, and there's like a refund process if, I don't know, the work wasn't really nice or wasn't really good, or something else was promised, right? There's a lot of different cases that can happen there. But in the best case scenario, after a certain time, the agent would then be able to withdraw the money that they've made from the smart contract. And yeah, and that's basically how we facilitate those payments. And we've built it all in a way where it's works with ADA, of course, but it mostly will work with stablecoins. So right now we're planning to do everything with USDM or USDA, and I think it's very important because no one in the real world wants to get paid in ADA. To be honest, we need to do it in stablecoins.
What do you think the main task is to kind of jumpstart it? I see a lot of new products in their early days when they have the MVP out there and a few iterations after that. They have like a few use cases, that really kind of take it to the next level and take it to where, you mentioned, Booking.com is working with, Southwest, for example. What do you think are the main tasks that, people are going to be using these AI agents over the next 2 years?
So, yeah, I mean, the main thing that we need to solve is we need to obviously create really good agents, or find companies that create really good agents and offer them on the marketplace on Masumi. And then we need to find the customers for those agents. In the end, we need to solve both sides for it. The good thing is that we're not doing this alone, right? We're not just NMKR saying, okay, we're going to build this marketplace and we're going to release it, and we're hoping that there will be agents on there, and we're hoping that there will be customers on there. But instead, what we've done is we've partnered with a company called Service Plan, which I mentioned earlier. And ServicePlan is actually a really, really large company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. They have 7,000 employees. They're the largest independent media agency in all of Europe. They do all the like digital presence for companies like BMW, Lufthansa, and many others. And ServicePlan right now is in the process of building those agents. So I think there's like 40 or 50 people or so working on Masumi from ServicePlan side. And they're doing basically nothing else besides like building agents, like, for example, competitor analysis agents, or I don't know, I mentioned it, content creation agents. Agents that they are already selling to their customers, or services rather, that they are already selling to their customers, and that they want to replace with agents because agents can do them faster, sometimes better, and of course a lot cheaper. So they are building these agents, and then they will be offering them on Masumi. So we basically solved, at least in a small scale, already the agent part. And then, of course, through ServicePlan, we have access to those enterprises, and all these enterprises are extremely interested in, using the agents, because they say, okay, why should we pay $15,000 for competitor analysis from you if you can also give us access to your agent, and we maybe pay like $1,000 or $500 or something like that, right? And because of that, we hope that we have both sides, both the buyers and the sellers, ready from the beginning. And we're talking with a lot of enterprises that want to be, the first customers. I mean, that the interest is really high, and they don't care about blockchain at all. Like, they don't even want to know that blockchain is involved. They just care about buying agents. But if we offer them a really good marketplace with some really good agents, I'm very confident that we can create a lot of transactions, and we can really scale this up. And the target audience is very, very much outside of the Cardano community. I think that's really important to understand. My personal goal actually is to make Masumi like one of the top Cardano projects without the Cardano community even realizing, because that's the only way we can grow. I've been saying it for a long time, and I've been trying for a long time to reach those outside markets. And I think with Masumi, we have a shot of actually delivering something for the real world that will drive Cardano transactions, but also, not be too connected with crypto, and not be reliant on any sort of hype cycles or anything like that.
What could you see, looking at NMKR, for example, and then also your personal life? What AI agents do you think would be most useful for NMKR and then for your personal life?
So I think for NMKR, I'm thinking about mostly the very basic like business agent. I want an agent that does nothing else but take all the invoices we get and sort them and send them to my accountant, because that's taking up so much freaking time right now. And it would make my life a lot easier. And I think that's really an unsolved issue at the moment, because you get invoices in every sort of format from every different, on every different channel. And it's such a pain for many different companies and countries, and then all the data is incorrect and so on. So if you have an agent to just do that and get all the invoices, that would solve a lot of companies' problems, I think. Then I think one thing that could really help is an agent that helps us with customer support. I think that's one of the more more common use cases for agents. Everyone is thinking about customer support at the moment, but for us, that's definitely something where it could help, and something that we will definitely build at some point. And many of those just organizational tasks could really be done with agents, in my opinion. For my personal life, I think personal life is a bit more tricky. I'm already using a lot of agents right now because I'm coding a lot, and I think Cursor, which is the new top IDE for developers, is probably the best agent we have at the moment, or the best multi-agent system we have at the moment, and it's extremely strong. So I think that just made my life a lot easier, and I think many other developers' lives also. So I think the regular people world doesn't even realize that basically all the like at least 50% of the code being written right now is being written by agents, basically.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
What you got, Ryan?
So I might have missed this part, but are there agents to manage agents? Like for a company, if you get 5 or 6 different agents, is there some agent to manage those, or is it just one layer of agents where you have to oversee them? And then secondly, is the agents framework a result of kind of the immaturity of the overall AI industry, and is it expected that as AI gets better at this rapid cycle that it's doing, that agents will kind of be unnecessary, as some of them will be able to do everything you ask?
These are perfect, really good questions, actually. So the first question about like basically the management of the agents, I can answer that first. So it depends on the implementation. I mean, you can have just one agent, and then you basically take the agent and you manage his work, and then you copy and paste his work and give it to the second agent and do everything manually. Actually, I have a friend of mine who kind of does that. He is basically being the orchestrator of a multi-agent framework, even though he doesn't realize that he's doing it. He's basically always generating images. No, he's generating prompts for images in ChatGPT. Then he copies those prompts, brings them to Midjourney, generates an image, then takes the result from Midjourney and puts it into some other AI tool to make a video out of it. And then he posts it on TikTok. So he's making one of those like some of those like weird AI TikTok videos. And that's literally just a multi-agent like sequence that he's doing, but he's doing it manually. He hasn't automated it because he's not a developer or anything like that. And but you could easily automate it by just putting, in this case, you don't even need a smart agent to orchestrate it, because it's just 3 steps after each other, right? You can just code them to be 3 steps after each other. But if you have, hundreds of agents, and you don't necessarily know that the input will always be the same and the output will always be the same, then you have to orchestrate them. And then you will have to have like an orchestrator agent who looks at the input, looks at all the agents that are available, and basically decides, okay, which agent am I now going to interact with to really get the best result. So yeah, that's definitely needed. And that's also actually a built-in feature in most of the agent frameworks out there. So Crew AI, for example, has that built in, and all the other agent frameworks also, to be honest. And I think it will be extremely interesting to see what those orchestrator agents do when we give them access to Masumi, because then suddenly they will have to choose between, okay, which of those, hopefully millions of agents that will be registered on Masumi am I now going to choose based on which criteria as well, and how much am I going to pay them, which one is the cheaper one, which one is the one with the best ratings, which one am I going to basically plug into this agent flow. So yeah, that's going to be quite interesting for sure. And I've talked a lot. Please interrupt me if I'm talking too much, but just to answer your second question as well, and I'll try to be short. The question basically, if it's just a result that we have all these agents and these agent frameworks, that it's just a result of the immaturity of the main LLMs, and that the LLMs will basically become so good that we don't need any agents anymore. I used to think like that, actually. I used to think that this is probably what's going to happen, and that ChatGPT is just going to be like the number one at some point, and that everything is just going to happen through ChatGPT. But I don't think like that anymore. I do think that there will be a lot of different LLMs, first of all, as we can already see that there's many different, like, how do you call, focused LLMs, like some which are good at coding, some which are good at reasoning, some which are good at I don't know, real-time data and news analysis, like Perplexity. And so you have different LLMs, and we don't have this one clear winner in the LLMs. And even if you just have agents that are different LLMs, which are really strong, interacting with each other, you will likely get a better result than if you just have one LLM which is just good at one thing. So that's like the first thing that has developed already in the last few years, basically. And it's very unlikely that all those LLMs will go away and we just end up with one in the end, in my opinion. And then the second thing is, it's not only about the LLMs, it's also about the access to data, because different companies have access to different data and to different tools. And like Lufthansa, for example, is the only company that can actually book flights for Lufthansa. So you need to have a Lufthansa agent, and you probably can't just have, like ChatGPT book the Lufthansa flight for you, because ChatGPT doesn't have access to the Lufthansa servers. So there's like value in that. And then the third point that I would, and also one thing to mention, and it's also for brands, like brands are also the same. Like if you have strong IP, you own that IP and you are the one who can provide that IP via your agent, and the agent, like the LLM, doesn't necessarily have access to that, right? And then the third point is also that there's been a lot of research into this, and that all the like leading researchers in the AI field at the moment are looking into it and are really coming to the conclusion that those multi-agent systems just perform so much better than if you just have one good LLM. So yeah, obviously we never know what the future will do, but I don't think that we'll go into this world where one LLM is just going to rule everything.
Yeah, I always see there being trade-offs when making any decision, in the same way that we have the blockchain trilemma here in our space. I imagine there's going to be an LLM, trilemma of some sort, that leads people to make decisions on which LLM that they would like to use. For anybody just tuning in, if you have questions for Patrick, if you have any questions about AI agents, click that little button in the bottom right-hand corner. Leave your question right there. Also do so if you're just enjoying the space. Give it a little like and retweet. We host these every week at 16 UTC, and we have a new project on every week. We also do a little news segment in the beginning. We appreciate you guys coming here. We also have a code this week. So we have a feature in Âtrium where you guys get XP and you unlock new backgrounds for leveling up your NFT from just engaging with the Cardano community. And our code this week is Patrick in all caps. So make sure you guys get on Âtrium and type that in. You'll get some XP for your profile NFT. We also released a big article yesterday introducing the Atma DAO. It's the second tweet that you can see up there. I'm going to get into it a little bit. Just to kind of introduce the Atma DAO, looking at Âtrium. Âtrium is a front end, for Cardano. Right now, you get on there, you have a dashboard, you have the education portal. What we've been trying to do, Patrick, is make, Cardano easy. And that's kind of how we've been looking at AI agents, is having like an AI agent that lives in Âtrium that people can just ask questions to. If they're new to crypto, they want to use, some service like Masumi or a different service, they can just ask, this little AI helper, how do I do this in the right way? Because it's not like you can ask that on Twitter without getting a bunch of bots, right? So on top of, crypto education and making crypto accessible and easy to use, we're also integrating DAO services. So the first DAO that we're going to be integrating is Atma. And Atma has, 3 different smart contracts that we're integrating into Âtrium. The first one, staking baskets. It allows you to delegate to over 100 pools at the same time. And, to productize that, the Atma DAO is launching Diffusion, which delegates to 50 different single stake pool operators at the same time. And this is actually going to be the only way that you can get the Atma token other than the airdrop. So that was kind of a big announcement included in our introduction of the Atma DAO yesterday, is that we're not going to be doing a private sale or a public sale. The only way that you're going to be able to actually get that token is by depositing your ADA and delegating to 50 different single stake pool operators, there'll be a small fee on that. And in return for that fee, you get the ATMA token, right? So you're supporting Cardano's decentralization, you're supporting 50 small businesses, and you're actually getting ownership of this DAO that's registered in the Marshall Islands. So the second smart contract that's also launching with mainnet allows you to mint profiles. And these profiles, you can level them up just by using Cardano, using on-chain transactions, using socials, like Discord and Twitter, and just engaging with the Cardano community. As you level up this NFT, you actually get, new backgrounds, new unlocks, new customization options. And, where it really starts to get interesting is that ATMA token that you earned from using diffusion or doing the airdrop. You can actually take that ATMA token and stake it to a profile. That profile that you're staking to could be Masumi, for example, the marketplace. And because you stake to that profile, that Masumi profile is going to get more virality within Âtrium. It's going to get pushed higher up in the list there. And, for doing so, there's actually going to be, rewards that come to users that stake to profiles, and also rewards for profiles that are staked to. So let's say you're a stake pool operator, right? You're running a stake pool for Midnight, you're running a stake pool for Cardano, and you also have an Âtrium profile. You go into Âtrium, you take your ATMA token, you click stake, and you'll see a little drop down there of different tokens that you could stake. Maybe it's the dust token. You just want to stake the dust token. You have the ADA token. You can just stake the ADA token, or you can take ATMA and stake to that profile to give your pool or someone else's pool more virality within Âtrium, push them higher up on an SPO list, right? So this is what we're coming to mainnet with, and make sure you read that introduction of the ATMA DAO, because that is the first DAO that we're going to be integrating at Âtrium. Those are the first services that you're going to be able to use on Âtrium, other than the services we already offer for the Cardano DAO, which is, sending and receiving and some of the other wallet features that we have in there. So use code Patrick if you want some free XP. We're prepping for mainnet, ladies and gentlemen. We're spinning up servers. We don't have a date for you yet, but it's happening. No more new features till mainnet, and it's exciting times. So Ryan, you have your hand up. What do you got for us, bro?
One more question, Patrick. Are the AI agent smart contracts task-based, or have them based on token size or context size for conversations?
Your connection is a bit bad, so I only understood half. But I think you asked if the smart contracts payments are task-based or token-based. So that's also a very good question, actually, because it's very interesting. We don't really know in many cases how much the actual execution of an agent's task, or we call it job, is going to cost. Like there's many different variables there. Of course, there's like tokens, how large is the actual input, that kind of stuff. But then also, if the agent is supposed to do something for you, to come back to the example from earlier, like if the agent is supposed to like buy a flight, you don't really know how much the flight is gonna cost, right? Before you actually do it. So we are implementing multiple different payment options, basically. And we are starting with a very easy model, like a fixed price. So you have one job and you pay for the job an X amount of stable coins, and that's it, and it can't change. But then at a different stage, basically, we will have different how do you call it, payments. So you could say, okay, now the agent has to, I don't know, assess how much it's going to cost him to finalize that job, and then the agent is going to return to you a certain price that he estimates. Or if there's like a later change, it could also be that the agent requests more money, that kind of stuff. And the smart contract supports all of these things already. It's more about how do we actually integrate this into the agents, and how do we give developers the option to use those tools in the smart contract. And it's not really part of version 1, but it's already in there. So technically speaking.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how all of this unfolds. I'm curious, was this one of the projects that was funded through Catalyst, or how? I mean, it seems like you're involved and makers involved in anything that's important on Cardano. But how did you get involved with Masumi?
Yeah, it was funded through Catalyst. We were one of the larger proposals that got funded in the last round, but it was also started a while ago, actually. So it started basically by Service Plan, this company that I mentioned that we're doing it together with, coming to us and actually coming to Zurich and having a meeting with me in person, where they presented the whole vision and the whole idea of how they want to move towards an agentic world and agentic services. And then them just hiring us for 3 months last year and saying, okay, look, we're going to pay you and you're going to write this smart contract and start working on this. And then it evolved more into a partnership, basically. And we said, okay, we are going to, do this as a joint project, and there will be, a joint company and like a joint everything for it, and we will be way more involved. And then we put up this Catalyst proposal, or Service Plan rather, put up this Catalyst proposal to fund a certain percentage of the project. But I'll be honest, this is and we got 1.8 million ADA, by the way, for everyone who's interested, which is a lot of money, obviously. But I'll be honest, it's not even covering half of what the project is costing. I think it's more than 5 million at this point. There's over 40 people working on it at Service Plan, and at NMKR there's like 13 at the moment, full-time working on Masumi. So it's a really large project, and I think it's not being appreciated for the size that it is at the moment. But that's totally fine. In the end, it doesn't really matter how many Twitter followers we have or anything like that. It's more about, okay, how do we get those enterprises onboarded? And so it's a multi-million-dollar project. Service Plan is funding it. Catalyst is helping. And and that's it. I hope that answers the question.
So I'm curious, you discussed about the Masumi node and stuff. How far along are you in development to be able to launch? And are you already onboarding AI agents onto the Masumi nodes platform? How is that going?
Yeah, the Masumi node is basically done. The last thing that's missing is the audit for the smart contract, but it's live, it's ready, it's open source. Anyone can download it and connect their agents to Masumi. As I said, the node itself is not like it's nice you can do that. Like, it's really cool in theory, but the node itself is just one puzzle piece, because the other puzzle piece, the actual marketplace, is still missing, and that's what we're building right now. And without the marketplace, even if your agent is running on Masumi, no one will be able to buy the agent, basically. So we need the marketplace. And we're onboarding a lot of developers right now. We're doing a lot of hackathons to get agent developers to deploy on Masumi already. And those will be the first agents then that also launch on the marketplace. And we are aiming to show the first version of the marketplace, at least the working version, I would say, in a few days, actually. So we'll do like a little bit of a demo on the 2nd of April at the AI Agent Week event that we're hosting. And then hopefully like 2 weeks later or so, we will be able to release the alpha version of the marketplace. So we're very far along, actually. It's going really well. And those hackathons, maybe I can talk about that for a second. The hackathons are really important because we need to get, of course, as many agents as possible live. And we're hosting a lot of hackathons for that right now. We're hosting an online hackathon every month where we're giving out $5,000 every month to winners. And then we're hosting a hackathon in San Francisco in April, where I'm going to be flying to. And we're hosting another hackathon in Berlin where I will be flying to, and the whole team will be there. And then we're hosting we're sponsoring a bunch of hackathons in Africa. So there's a lot of events and a lot of hackathons that we're doing. And the goal is really to reach the like Web 2 kind of community, and not so much the Web 3 builders, but like actual agent developers or brands or companies or just people that are interested. So yeah, if you're interested in that, masumi.network/events, that's where we have the full list.
The hackathon idea is really cool. I expect that you guys will get a lot of good developers from that as time goes on. It's a really exciting idea. Ryan, got something else for us?
Yep, couple questions. What are your guys' plans for any scaling? Are you going to host marketplaces and I don't know, Hydra heads or something else that you guys are cooking up? And then how do we invest in Service Plan? Because what a forward-thinking company to try to transition. Kudos to them. I mean, amazing for one of these fiat companies to reach into AI and blockchain at the same time.
I agree. I think it's absolutely incredible that Service Plan is doing this and taking this leap of faith. And I mean, it's a big investment, and it's really a risky move for them, of course, as well. And I can tell you, it was not easy to convince them to go with Cardano. There was actually so there's this one guy from Service Plan, the chief transformation officer, Sebastian, and he's super smart, super technical, and knows Cardano really well, and has been knowing NMKR for a long time. So he's the main guy, the main driving force. But before he was able to start this project with us, he had to commit to do a one-day workshop with his team, where they basically held a presentation trying to convince him to not do it on Cardano. So they did a full, they were so against Cardano that they did a whole day of workshop and preparation and everything to convince their boss to not do it on Cardano, basically. But he was so deep into the tech, and he understood UTXOs and scaling and all that kind of stuff, that he basically could answer all their questions, and they basically came to the conclusion together that Cardano might actually be the best choice. And that's why they're doing it on Cardano. And then also, obviously, we had to give a little bit of legitimacy to the Cardano blockchain. So what I did is I invited Fred, the CEO of the Cardano Foundation, and a few other people from the Cardano Foundation to Munich, to the Service Plan headquarters, where they met with us and with Sebastian, and also with the CEO of Service Plan. And they explained the whole thing. And of course, for the CEO of Service Plan, he doesn't understand, what the difference between UTXOs and account model or whatever that is. He doesn't really know, but it was very important to get him in a room with Fred. And I think that helped a lot to convince them internally even more. And you can actually not invest into a Service Plan, and that's really the key thing. That's the good thing about it, because I'm pretty sure almost all of the other large agencies in Europe, they're all stock traded or partner model, where there's many different partners involved. And Service Plan is one of the very few which are still led by the founding family. So it's basically a family business. So the CEO, can just make the decision, and then everyone has to follow the decision. And that's why we were able to even do it and even get to this point. So I'm extremely impressed with Service Plan. I think it's incredible, and it's such a blessing working with them, really. And I completely forgot your first question. So, scaling. Yeah, we're not going to do Hydra heads. We're going to do Midgard. We're going to build our own layer 2 based off of Midgard, and basically do all the Masumi transactions on there. Scaling is a big problem for us. Transaction fees are a big problem for us. Right now, we cannot have agents that cost less than maybe $20 or $30 or so. Otherwise, transaction fees are too high to even allow us to do it. So we need to have a layer 2 at some point, and I have a plan to do that, and we're going to work with Fluid tokens on that. And and that's definitely something to tackle this year.
It's a crazy story to hear that, they had a whole day workshop trying to convince, him to not choose Cardano. It's wild to hear that, especially considering that they still went, with Cardano ultimately. So, and it's also really nice to hear that Fred took some time out of his day to travel all the way to Munich, to help you get this deal over the line that was beneficial to Masumi and ultimately Cardano at the same time. So it's been amazing having you here. We keep them to an hour, so we host these every week at 16 UTC. Let's definitely have you back on again, Patrick. Once you guys get a little further with this, we want to keep updated, keep our community updated as well with everything you guys are working on the InMaker side, Masumi, and also with Finest as well. I really like to see what you guys did with Finest early on. So if you guys have any big updates around there, around Finest, feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you back on the space. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we head out of here, Patrick?
No, nothing else to add. Really thankful for inviting me. It was a pleasure, and I think the questions from Ryan were really amazing, really smart, and I can tell that he knows his stuff already. So and also, of course, not only from Ryan, but also from you, Pei. But no, it was really nice. So thanks so much for having me, and yeah, can't wait to be here again. And good luck with Âtrium.
The last thing I'll claim to be is an AI expert. I'll say that honestly and be forefront about it. Thank you, Stephen, for hosting the space. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Amazing job.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick, for your valuable insights and for making time to come talk to us about Masumi. So as as Peyton already mentioned, we host these spaces every Wednesday at 1600 hours UTC. So we have great guests like Patrick on every week and great topics like Masumi. So make sure you check back every week on Wednesday, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.